Hi, my name is Alex with ATech Tech Tutorials, and today I have a special treat for you all. This video is an interview with the fun man Andy, and I had an absolute pleasure of having the opportunity to interview him. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like if you get value out of this video, and if you have any questions or comments about the interview, please let me know in the comment section below. This is part of our Summer of Atlassian 2.0 series, where I am interviewing members of the Atlassian community. I am super happy that Andy gave me an opportunity to interview him for a few minutes, and I really enjoyed this interview. I hope that you get some value out of it. Let's go show some support, share this video, drop a like, and most importantly, share it with everybody that you know. Finally, this video is sponsored by Oak Street Solutions. As you know, if you've been a fan of the channel, Oak Street Solutions has been a longtime partner and sponsor of the channel, and they have graciously agreed to be the premier sponsor for all of the Atlassian community member interviews. So thank you very much to Oak Street Solutions. Make sure you check out their #1 app, Custom Charts for Jira and Custom Charts for Confluence. They are truly game changers. So if you feel like you want a little bit extra, if your metrics and reporting in Jira are just not living up to your expectations, go and install and give Custom Charts for Jira and or Confluence a try. You will thank me later. Link in the description down below. Go show them some love. Go show them what the power of this community and YouTube can do. And now let's jump into this interview with the fun man Andy. Hey everyone, today we have another guest speaker for you. We are going to be talking with Fun Man Andy, and I have a lot of great questions for him, and I'm sure we're going to be learning a lot about what makes the Fun Man so fun. And so, without any further ado, let's just jump into it. Andy, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for participating in this series. This is part of my Thursday series of interviewing members of the Atlassian community, and just trying to add different perspectives and bring different views to the channel, and just kind of learn about people as well, right? So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we'll just jump right into it. Starting off with the origin story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself beyond what I just talked about from this little brief intro?
Whoa, you want the history?
maybe at least, where did Fun Man come from, other than the legend?
That's a good one. So, as many people who are on the online community know, I've been on there for many years now. I can't actually remember the exact date. It might be as early as 2017 or as far back as 2017. And as you can tell, I don't take life too seriously, or I try not to. And basically, most of my posts on the online community were either emojis or GIFs or something. People could be talking seriously about a topic, and in comes me with a joke and a GIF and etc. And it's a really good friend of mine, also community leader, Fabienne. She works for Zolt, based out of Bavaria, the really awesome German consulting team, way back when she was working for a different company. And she just kept saying stuff like the fun man has arrived, and stuff like that. And basically ended up that it just stuck. It wasn't something I designed myself. I wish it was, and then I could be like, oh, look at my awesome self-marketing and self-branding, but it just came from the community. And after that, it just became, who's Andy Barker? No one knows.
Nobody knows.
Everyone just kept saying like, fun man Andy, fun man Andy. I even have Slack messages where someone had said, it actually defies belief this guy has a surname. I thought his name literally was Fun Man Andy. We need to see his passport. Like, what's his actual name?
Yeah, I had a similar conversation with my wife yesterday, because I interviewed the Jira guy, and so I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, so I'm going to be talking to Rodney. She's like, who's Rodney? And I'm like, the Jira guy. Like, oh,
yeah.
Like, so yeah, you just don't even know who their real identities are. True Batmans and
Well, I did that with you at Vegas. I've even got a video at a dinner with a customer. You won't believe it, but I said, oh, so you've seen Alex, right? Who? Alex Ortiz. He's here this week. Who's Alex Ortiz? And I'm like, yeah, the guy from the YouTube vlogs and stuff. And then I said, Ape Tech Tutorial. And I said it like you say it as well, right? Hi guys, welcome to Ape Tech Tutorials. And he went, no, well, I've seen his video. One last week.
Oh man, I was teaching a class today, and one of the students that was in that class, she was like, I've seen your videos, and when I saw the background, and then I saw you, and then I heard the voice, and I was like, no freaking way.
We're all just alter egos in this mini Atlassian superhero world.
Yeah.
Right?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Here in the US, our military personnel, they get their call signs, right? If you've seen like Top Gun and stuff, and those are usually assigned out to you. So it's really great that your fun man
Yeah,
was assigned to you
yeah,
in true
it really,
traditional style.
really was.
Cool. So let's jump over to the next question here, and gonna see. It's all about memory lane here, right? But what's your first memory with Atlassian? Like, what do you first remember the first time you were introduced to this?
Oh, I'm going to throw some massive shade at a former company. I'm going to
Uh-oh.
be careful with timelines so people can't work it out. But I wouldn't class myself as an Atlassian fanboy, especially these days following their roadmaps. I think they get more shade behind the scenes from me than what I post in exciting enthusiasm on Twitter and stuff like that. So way back when, I was working for a company that was all in that classic Excel files, and even project managers are using paper to-do notes to monitor their teams, and even the good stuff like agile post-it notes and let's manage our projects on the wall and stuff. Even that wasn't working out. And this is a long time ago. I can't remember what version Jira was on back then, but definitely Charlie was in, right? So it was still Charlie logo, and it's that long ago.
Okay. I
And
did not know he had a name. Did he? I just
yeah, the logo is called Charlie. Yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah. Well,
That's,
there
I'm
we go.
learning something.
Yeah, there's your next vlog video, the history of Atlassian
Yeah.
logos. Yeah. And I was freaking out because back then I was a senior PMO, project management officer, responsible for all of this methodology, making sure the company is doing their projects correctly, and did a lot of research like I always do into best task management systems, and but what also has good reporting, hence custom charts, and what all of this good stuff. And it was actually around the time that, oh no, I can't say any timelines. Let's just say marketplace existed. Don't throw too much shade at a former company. And yeah, and Atlassian was just the clear winner. It had the Jira for the day-to-day tasks. It had Confluence for all not just wiki but great documentation, and also product management from the documentation side, which we really needed at that time. And then I just went through all of the classic business case stuff and talking to procurement, talking to senior directors, and everyone said, yeah, we really need to make that change. And then it didn't happen. And I was really bummed. And then when I left that company, every company I went to, I kept saying, hey, have we got Atlassian? What's going on? Ironically, the next company I went to did have Atlassian tool sets, but they weren't really using it. They had just bigger priorities and focus. So only the software devs and the engineers were using it for their coding, and I think they had Bitbucket and stuff like that, and they had an on-prem system. So sadly, I was on the peripheries watching in, like, oh, this cool Atlassian system, I want to learn more. And then it was many. So I was still building all my knowledge and still watching videos and everything like that, and following the marketing. And then many years later, I think it was about 2018, I finally got my
Oh,
hands
so
on.
now we're putting dates. Should I
Yeah,
bleep the
now
dates out?
we put it in date. So 2018, I finally got my hands on this system. So I knew, I mean, I wouldn't say I knew everything because I hadn't technically been using it, but the way I came into the system and just went, oh, everything's wrong. And within a month, we changed everything about our Atlassian toolset. It just proved to me that I'd done my homework and sorted it out. So that's my history with Atlassian systems. And yeah, I was using Trello as well before Atlassian acquired them. So
Okay.
broad
So
tools.
I don't have this question on my little notes here, but I am very curious. So from 2018 to today, right? Few years, 5, 6 years here. Where does Chris come into the picture? How do we meet him?
Oh wow, yeah. Chris Cook reached out to me when he just started Old Street, because obviously they were pushing very hard on, hey, we have this new app and it's really cool. And him, the original technical co-founder, Tom, who he designed the original color picker app that turned into custom charts and was pretty much responsible for custom charts first year of road mapping. They were pushing really hard. They were trying to get to all the community events. They probably set up email sequencing to just spam everyone in one go really easily and say, hey, we want to come and visit. And it was really sad because I suddenly had a really bad illness. Ironically, it was not Corona when Corona was rife in 2020. And I had to apologize to them in the end and just say, I'm so sorry, I can't do this event, this virtual event with you. I'm dog sick. We need to cancel. And then, of course, by the time it was quite a serious, I had lymph gland infection. It took ages to recover and get back to work properly. Luckily, it was Corona, so there wasn't much work to do. And then, yeah, unfortunately, time had just moved on and we didn't get back in contact with each other. I do remember him being actually, we didn't meet, but he was at Open Vienna, the sort of mini summit, European mini summit for Atlassian in September of 2019. And I'm sure he's told many people this, so he won't mind me saying it publicly, but he was invited to do a presentation on how to launch an enterprise marketplace app. And officially at that date, they didn't really have a solid version yet. It didn't really exist as an app per se.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, Atlassian clearly liked what they've done with it so far, because they've been very informative with Atlassian of what they were doing for the past year or so. So that was quite funny that he was presenting on a subject he hadn't quite yet achieved. He did achieve it a few months later, but that was quite funny. And then when my former company, I was having a great time messing around in the augmented reality and IoT worlds for an awesome company called PTC, based out of Boston and known a lot across the globe, especially for people involved in 3D CAD, in PLM, product lifecycle management. Big manufacturing and product companies use them the world over. They just made a decision to basically be cloud only. Wink, wink, Atlassian. So they removed all of their on-prem services and shifted that out to partners, and the partners were handling that. And I was in a division that was full customization. It didn't fit the cloud SaaS out of the box. So no hard feelings. They made me and several other people redundant, quite a few actually, in the hundreds. But yeah, it was handled very well. And the day I was made redundant, I phoned one of my best mates, Theodora. So Theodora and I have known each other in the Atlassian community for years, and we're besties.
That name sounds very familiar. I know her.
Yeah, most people do. Yeah, so obviously of former Botron fame, and she was at Appfire for a while, and then she left the ecosystem and then got involved with Chris. So she'd been working about eight or 9 months at the time of my redundancy, and I phoned her up and I said, "Oh, by the way, the redundancy's finally happened. Today's the day I'm going into the office." And she went, "Oh, that's cool to know." And we hung up the phone. The next thing was a Slack message to Chris like, "Bum man's available." So within a week, I had an interview with Chris, and the first interview was interesting. Chris just he was so determined to have me. He sold me on the company, and he spent 55 minutes of the hour interview talking about the company. And he goes, I was a little bit mean to him because I'm a very blunt guy. And he goes, "Yeah, so is that all clear? And is that fine?" I went, "Yes, because I know your company for over 2 years now. I'm not sure why you're trying to convince me to join." You went, "Oh, okay." But we had a more serious interview on the second round. So that's how. Yes, that's October 2021, and then I joined the company officially. I think around early 2022. So it's been well over a year now.
Nice. Yeah, Ronnie and I at team, we had like a little epiphany moment. We're like, wonder what would happen if both of us were to enter the marketplace, like be available for hire. We're like, I wonder how quickly we could get snatched up. We were
like in a heartbeat, if you ask me. I think some of the bigger corporates are watching this video now, listening to you. I think you two are going to get a lot of emails.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. That's awesome. So my next question is kind of answered already, but I was gonna ask, like, well, so why Atlassian? Like, what out of all the tools? But it looks like you did all your research, right? You were just
right. Yeah. I think if I'm going to be really fair to Asana, Basecamp, ClickUp, all of those good tools, right? Microsoft DevOps, the Google Project Management Suite and stuff, they've really upped their game nowadays. I think it is definitely in 2023, it's really hard to define what is the best application for your company, for your people, etc., because there's so many options. They're very similar as well, right? So I did hear one person one time go, I went to a new company and they're using ClickUp and it's just Jira with a different jacket. and I mean, they're trying to differentiate, but let's be honest, at the end of the day, Jira set the precedence way back when when Agile exploded. So we had Agile Manifesto 2001, and you met John Kern, right, at
Yeah,
Team?
I did.
Selfie with him. Yeah, Agile Manifesto exploded from 2001 onwards, and think about it, Atlassian was there 2002. So they literally just went, wow, there's all of this Agile, what's going on, task management, and then Jira was born. And I think, was it 2 years later, Confluence as well? Therefore, by the time and without doing timelines,
I know, right? We're gonna have to do an Atlassian history though episode one day.
one day. It's a big, rich history. There's so many good blogs. Jexo have got a really nice infographic. I like a lot. I use that one as a
I
reference.
did, yeah. I've actually sent Jexo's history of Atlassian to a few people.
Yeah, me too.
They're like, "What's up with the Go Jira? Why Jira?" And I'm like, "Well, let me send you this blog post."
Yeah. So back in the time that I was doing all of my research, there was just this one standout, right? So they were dominating. They were so smart as well. That's part of the history lesson as well. Instead of just sitting in Australia and trying to approach the world, they were so smart. They just went straight to Silicon Valley. And that's where it's all happening. Boom, we're in Silicon Valley. So everything that Atlassian was doing in terms of customer stories and use case blogs and everything like that just screamed the biggest tech companies in the world.
Yeah.
The big agile movers and shakers in the world. And that's why I just landed on Jira. That's why it landed on Confluence for me when I did all of that research, because they were clearly number one. And I think, yeah, today they still are in reality. If you look at revenue, if you look at number of employees, like for what they do, yeah, they're still the biggest.
Yeah, no, definitely. A lot of people typically ask me like, why do you spend a lot of time just talking about Jira when there's so many other tools? I'm like, well, go to the industry and everybody's on Jira. Like every company, like Google, they even all of them are on it, right?
Right.
And so,
yeah.
But I hated Jira when I first saw it. It was like, because I came from the world of TFS. I came from the server version of TFS integrated into Visual Studio, and it's all right there in the UI where I'm writing my code. I'm like, why would I leave to a browser?
Yeah.
And then I have to go to different tools to do different things. I'm like, it just didn't make sense. And I fought my boss, and I was like, we should go to TFS.
It's funny actually you say that, because what I struggled with when I first came into the Atlassian system, I was used to this world of Google Excel sheets. And when I was working, the job I had before I moved into before I came into, let's say, the hardcore software development world, lots of R&D and stuff, it was more logistics based. So I was like a logistics project manager who was helping with total cost of ownership and looking at all these different type of change projects and everything like that. And you don't really have in that sense, nowadays you do, but back then you didn't really have a project template for change management. You kind of wrote out what you needed to do and you'd work on your own tasks, but you had all these different stakeholders and you didn't really need to bring them into a daily stand-up or something like that. My transition was really tough because Jira is a really cool system and you can get it to work for you straight away. But if you have to learn the workflows, you have to learn how components fit into backlogs and stuff like that, versioning, release notes, all that good stuff. And then you get the automation, and then you get this and that. And oh, hey, we have customers, so let's use Jira Service Desk. Oh my God, what is JSD, right? So the learning curve for me was really tough, but very exciting. And that's, I think, why I'd already been hanging around the online community a little bit, because of that extended research and sort of keeping tabs on it. But my hardcore involvement was from that moment on, because I'm just going to online community, because we had a consultant, really good one, in the Netherlands called Avizi. And but we had like the minimum contract every month, so many hours. And I'm a massive nerd, just like yourself. Like your opening video on YouTube talks about your oh no, it wasn't the opening video, it was your most recent one, the how many hours you've done, right?
My 16,000 hours of Jira.
Yeah, so I was listening to that the other day, and it was the same thing. Like I was coming in hungry for knowledge and wanting to learn more because I'm this massive nerd. And Avizi were like, yeah, we can triple or quadruple the contract for you, Andy, give you more hours. And I've got this CEO going, no, like you go learn that in your own time. And I'm like, but I have someone who can teach me, and they're amazing, right? I would go to their customer days and all this stuff, get the t-shirts and get the swag. And basically once someone said to me, Andy, you're on the online community, right? And I was like, yeah, why? And they're like, that's just like a million nerds sharing their knowledge for free. And that's when I started going on, and it was every day I had like 3 questions or something from that account alone. And then once my own knowledge got so good, it was like, oh, let's, also share my knowledge. And then we moved from on-prem to cloud, and that was very early, and that was freak out mode, because let's be honest, at that time, so that is what now, Dan, that's 5 years ago or something, 5 to 7 years ago, the Atlassian cloud was atrocious. Now
I jumped into the cloud in 2020, and I was like, this is like 2016 version of data center. Like, this is going backwards.
We go, yeah. But I think Russell, oh, what's his name? Russell Zera, I think, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen him around the Atlassian community for a while, but he was quite a poster boy for them back in the day, because his company did a big lift and shift from on-prem to cloud, and it was just constant battles. We're missing this, that doesn't exist, etc., etc. And it did take quite a few years for everyone to be happy once again. He's a really brave person to have taken on such a giant IT change project. But it was sort of proof in the pudding as well, because once he was done, a lot of people were saying, oh, cloud, it looks like it's missing stuff, or it's looking like it's not quite there yet. And he'd present his story of, well, imagine 3 years ago what I went through. People go, oh yes. And it was kind of this sort of reverse psychology from, do you want to do it now, or do you want to do it 3 years ago, or do you want to do it in 3 or 4 years time when it's more expensive? And that would help, people make their decision.
Yeah. You remember when Jerry's cost $10?
Oh man, yeah.
Days.
Another video as well, like yeah, Jerry used to cost $10, and I'm like, wow, now sometimes it's $10 per user.
Not even, man. It's like, if you want all the features, it's 15, at least in the US, it's 15.25 a month.
Yeah, it's yeah. I think that's the funny thing about, like, is it worth it or not? And it comes down to, well, how does your company work, right? A lot of people, I do less consulting these days, still do some on the side. It's more like sitting for an hour or so with someone, and I don't charge them to share a little bit of knowledge. So I don't do any more hardcore setting up systems and stuff like that. And it just comes down to, like, well, how does your company want to set yourself up for success? Should you use Jira? Should you use Asana? I mean, like, understand your own processes, your people, and your culture first, and then choose the tool, and then customize the tool to how you work. Like, don't let the tool dictate how you work.
So you went from being a PM, project manager,
yeah,
to wanting to use Jira because you needed a project management tool.
Yeah.
Then being like an admin.
Oh, that's a fun story.
To then becoming a salesperson?
So, oh yeah.
What's your degree? What's your background?
I've got a business administration degree,
okay.
So business, and my whole career has been project and change management. And because of I have to go a little bit further back, actually. 2008, I was working for a really cool American company, and I was working on a lot of internal projects, and my projects were very successful because I'm like a dog with a bone, very good at risk analysis as well, very good at issue management. So if there's a proper issue, analyze it, work it out, do we just drop it or whatever, adjust the project plan, etc., etc. And one of the managing directors, once the financial crisis hit, was like, wait, we have a really good PM who delivers, let's put him on commercial. So I never actually wanted to work in the commercial world at all. I was really enjoying my internal change projects and, messing around with process engineering. Actually, I was really good at, I had like a master's degree in Visio. Like, the kind of projects I was doing was like, one of my first ever projects I was involved in as a junior was with KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines. And they were looking at total cost of ownership of the water bottles that go on the plane. And their total cost of ownership could be printed off on an entire wall. It was so big. So like those levels of Visio and stuff. And that was really good fun. Lots of ITIL stuff. Yeah, and this managing director just went, wait, our projects are depleting. The world's changed. We should put this guy in our commercial teams. So I ended up more in in pre-sales, in commercial project management and stuff like that. And that kind of was then, I would say, probably just my career for the next yeah, until I left of PTT. So let's say, yeah, 13 years or something like that in the commercial side. So it is project management, and I was still doing change management, but it's definitely on the customer side. And then it was more about profit margins and making revenue alongside delivering really cool solutions for customers. So kind of already in that, I'd say, salesy role. And then the Atlassian admin thing's hilarious, because my word of advice to anyone who knows what they're doing with Atlassian: when you move into a new company and you hear someone really important, like a senior director or someone, or a CIO, say, does anyone know anything about this Jira stuff? Like, we need to like look after it and stuff. If you are not specifically a full-time Atlassian admin, do not put up your hand and say, yeah, I know everything about it, I'm a community leader. It will be dumped on you on top of your regular work. So I've been an Atlassian admin 3 times in different companies, but it's all part-time. It was that classic scenario of like, hey, you know, the CEO had seen on my CV like Jira and you know, ACP qualified and stuff, and then it's like busy with a customer project, and he comes along and he's like, yeah, so the support team's got some problems in JSD. Oh yeah, sure, no worries. Yeah, I'll have a look into it. Right, half an hour job, fix it, no worries, go back to my work. Next day, yeah, there's something wrong with workflows and automation, and we can't release properly. Something's wrong with the branching. It's like, oh, yeah, let me have a look. Oh, can't work it out. Go on the online community, get an answer, fix it. And then before you know it, it's like, yeah, so we've got like 12 new employees. You need to set them up as users across the systems, all the right groups and stuff like this. And you waste 4 hours of your day going, wait a minute, this isn't my job. So I've never been a full-time admin. It's always been volunteer work. So
yeah, I always hear a story of like the Scrum Master is usually like, well, you're using Jira to do your job. You're not the Jira admin.
yeah, exactly. That's that. I think I don't know how many people I could count that I know in my network that have had this nightmare story of just because you use Jira, for some reason you also end up being the admin as well. But rule of thumb, some great advice whilst we're on here talking tech tutorials: you can handle up to 50, maybe 100 users, and someone can manage the systems on the side. But if your user tier goes above that, you really need to start thinking like 1 admin per 250 users, and then it scales up. So you'd need 1 admin for 250, like full-time, 40 hours a week, right? So 1 admin 250, 2 admins 500, 3 admins 1,000, etc., etc. So if you've got
That's how many users I manage today.
what you've got like what, you've probably got about 4,000 over the systems, right? 4,000 users.
Like 4 or 5,000, yeah. It's crazy, and it's just 1.
Just 1. That's
Just
the best part. I know a company. I've presented this before as part of one of my, it was a small segment in one of my grander sort of presentations way back when for Agile Holland, really cool meetup group. And someone came to me afterwards and they were like, yeah, could we have a quick chat about what you said about how many admins you need per users? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he goes, yeah, I don't really have an admin right now. We've just moved to cloud, and obviously it's really, really different. And various people from the organization, some scrum masters, 1 marketing manager likes it. Like about 12 of us have come together, and we're doing like half an hour a week each. We're keeping the system in check. But yeah, I really want to put a business case as CEO about how many full-time admins we should have. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Okay, so how many users do you have? And I'm hearing this story thinking, and I hadn't heard the company before. It wasn't like, let's say, a big publicly known company. I said, how many active users do you have? And he goes, yeah, probably about 10,000 on cloud. And I didn't have a poker face that day. My eyes, I just went, and there's no full-time admin, not even 1. He went, no. I said, your systems must be a mess. Introduced him to a services provider, and yeah, they help sort that.
Cool. Well, I think that's a great segue, right? So the next question, because we are going a little late here, what's the biggest lesson you've learned since starting out in this journey here? Like either that or biggest horror story, and or both. You can look back and think of all the things that you've gone through. What would be the biggest lesson?
I have a horror story.
All right, give us a horror story. No names, no shades, or lots of shades, no names, no dates.
So the people involved will know this story immediately. Okay, once upon a time, I went to visit a company. I was with my boss. I was with my sales colleague, and we were going in to, like, impress, dress to impress, right? And we went into this London firm, really fancy. They were very well known. And in one of the offices, there was this, what I thought was one of these fancy soundproof phone booths. So we're sitting there, and my phone goes, and it's a friend, and they wanted to know something about what happened to me at the weekend. And I was like, oh, I can't really talk right now. And they said, yeah, but I only have, like, I don't want, like, you promised me you would phone me on Sunday and you didn't, and now I'm free. They just got off a shift or something at work. I was like, I'll go on then. So I went into this room that I thought was soundproof, and as everyone knows, I've got a pretty loud voice. When I whisper, even when I whisper, my wife's like, it's too loud, shh, quiet. So I went in and I told this story that it's definitely NFSW, right? Warning flags everywhere. And I was just telling it. I wasn't shouting or, whatever, but I was just telling it, and my voice carries very, very well. And suddenly the door of this thing opens up, and some person I've never met in my life just goes, oh, excuse me, you're really loud. And I went, oh my God, am I? And they're like, yeah, you are. I was like, is this not soundproof? No, it's not. I'm so sorry. Shuts the door. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, to my friend, I think I have to go. Like, that's really embarrassing. So come out the room. my boss, my colleague, and then the two people who knew me because they were like our contacts at that firm, are all laughing their asses off. The other colleagues of this firm, the other people working at the firm, are shocked to hell because they've never met me before. They didn't know what I'm like. And then this person who had said, like, oh, could you be, it was suddenly gone. Apparently he'd gone to a meeting or something. But I went over to my contact person and I said to them, OMG, that's really embarrassing. Did none of you want to come and say anything? And they said, we didn't know what to do or how to approach the situation. But don't worry, our CEO clearly helped you. And at first I died inside, because this was like a very private story about something really funny but pretty gross that happened to me at the weekend.
Yeah.
Right, in my private life. And I mean, I'm just I'm brash and bold anyway. So,
but in true fun man sense, I would have just finished the story.
Yeah. So
you left them with a cliffhanger.
Sorry?
You left them on a cliffhanger.
Who?
Your team.
Yeah. I think they had enough. I think a good solid 10 minutes. There was no cliffhanger. I'd thrown everyone off the cliff and drowned them in my story.
That's the moment when you wish you had that Men in Black, like, forget the last 20 minutes of your life.
To be honest with you, I had like some stuff in my bag that was meant for someone else, and it's quite a decent bottle of wine. So I'd left it on the desk and put a post-it note on, like, thanks for coming to rescue me, when nobody else did. I had no idea that wasn't a soundproof room. It was really wafer thin plastic. Like, you could, like, push it like this, and even at the sides, it wasn't even connected.
Yeah, you got to do a little stress testing before you.
Yeah.
Lessons learned, folks.
Definitely lesson learned. That's my horror story in my entire career, actually. That one was really funny.
Nice. I'm glad I asked that.
It wasn't at the Atlassian offices. They've got really thick soundproof rooms. I know that because someone came to me and said, like, one time said, I couldn't hear what you were saying, but you're in one of the hip chat rooms. We could definitely hear your voice though. And I was like, oh my God, these things are soundproof. They're supposed to be soundproof.
So not on voice, but I will say that the moment I walked onto the registration at Team 23, I looked and I'm like, that's a really tall person. And then I looked a little bit lower. I'm like, oh, it's Andy.
Yeah, there's a thing about Old Street. I don't know why. Yasik's really tall. Yasik's same height as me. So we're both like 6'5".
And then Chris makes you look like little people.
Chris is just a monster, right? So I think he's like 6'9.5", I don't think he's 6'10", but yeah, for I'm actually saying it to you because obviously you're based out of the States, so it's easier for you to do feet. But
For
uh,
everybody else.
for everyone else, yeah, I'm just shy of 2 meters, but Chris is a good solid 2'6", maybe even more, 2'7".
Wow.
Yeah, oh, he might
Well,
even be. Yeah, I think he's 2'7", 2'8", 2 meters 8. Yeah, he's a monster.
yeah, he's I was not expecting because I've only ever seen Chris from here up.
And this is the best thing about Zoom, and mainly caused by Corona, right? So my camera, everyone's shocked because you've got my camera up here, right? So I'm on top of the screen. But imagine you get to an event and you've been meeting me like this, like hi everyone for years during Corona, and suddenly
Yeah.
you get to an event and it's like, hey, how you doing down there, right? Like,
That is exactly how I felt because I was like, I'm not a very I'm 5'10", I think 5'9.5", maybe 5'10". Depends on the types of shoes, but yeah, I'm not 6 feet or anything. But man, you guys were tall.
yeah, we're pretty tall. And then when you add those jackets on as well, right? Like we
Yeah,
so
no. So
yeah.
at the bash party, Chris was like, he gives me a hat, and he's like, if you see Becky, give it to her.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, Chris, I've seen Becky for 20 minutes. I don't know what Becky looks like. And he's like, well, if you see her, give it to her. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like there for like almost an hour looking at every person coming in and out of that bash party, just staring them down. I'm like, is this the Becky that I saw? Is this the Becky? Then I gave up, and then I saw Jacek, and I'm like, hey, have you seen Becky? He's like, she's inside, dude. She's been inside for like an hour.
Oh, that's so
And I was like, are you kidding me? So then I went inside. I'm like, okay, so how hard can it be to find a 7-foot tall person in the
yeah.
sea of a bash party? So I found Chris again, and I was like, here's your hat, and she's in here somewhere.
Oh
Oh
man,
man,
that's so
that was quite the night. All right, so I
cool.
do really want to wrap this up so you can get yourself to the gym. If you can change one thing about Atlassian, what would it be? Like a favorite
Oh,
product or something like that, without getting fired or in trouble.
you know what? I'm not going to get into trouble, and even if I do get into trouble, I'll be like, I'm
It'll
the
be
founder.
worth it.
Yeah, it'll be worth it. I don't care. Atlassian themselves, I'm not throwing shade. This is constructive criticism. Atlassian themselves has changed somehow, and the whole ecosystem's talking about it. So right now, the two corporate values that are really getting sort of the most gossip on the grapevine, and people are talking about it behind the scenes, is don't F the customer and open company, no BS.
Yeah.
If I was, so Anu is made president this year, right? I'd be really talking to a lot of people, not just the big platinum partners or the biggest top accounts or the enterprise customers, but also the smaller ones as well, and have some honest conversations about, hey, this is our company values. Check all of them out on our webpage. For each one, do you believe that we're fulfilling that? Because for me, the don't F the customer and the open company no BS, I think that's lacking these days. 8 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, absolutely. They were really on fire on all of their company values, but something's changed. The company's gone off the rails a little bit. They've lost their way, and I'm not throwing shade. Constructive criticism. Think Atlassian really needs to change that and look at what's going on, because every call I go into, one-on-one, groups, we are all complaining about it. Like, I know I like to make my memes and my jokes about data centers going to die, and we're not waiting for the announcement, we're just waiting for the invite to the funeral. That's the stupid fun man side of things. But at the same time, that's a great example of, but there is no future for data center. Your roadmap ends in 3
Yeah.
years. Clear signs that what's good on cloud roadmap is not on data centers roadmap, and there's big cavern of what's going on. So I'm not saying Atlassian has to just go, hey, we're putting the plug on data center in the next 10 years, but then do have honest conversations with customers about why that roadmap ends, and taking off the fun man hat and putting on the serious business growth strategist hat. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I was my first night at team. I was with a group of people, and I was at a table with an Atlassian folk, and they're like, "Hey, man, this team is on data center. Because I'm all cloud, right?" He's like, "Tell them how much you like the cloud." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." So I was like, low key, like, hey, you guys coming over to the cloud anytime soon? And they're like, no, we can't. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, well, because we have so much legacy scripts, so much legacy, just everything that they've built in over years
Yeah,
into this tool. I'm like, my jaw just drops. I'm like, yeah, there is no path for you to get off of this because it's just not going to be possible without a lot of heavy lifting.
yeah, yep,
And then,
exactly.
but to then not get none of the new features, it's like it's kind of demoralizing.
As well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Cool. So last question here, just to wrap things up. I got actually last two, right? But um, on the opposite side, what excites you the most about the future of Atlassian? Now that we know what we don't like.
Yeah, should always have like, what do they call it, the good feedback sandwich or something, right? You got the
Yeah.
two buns in the middle or whatever it is. I can't remember what that's
Yeah.
called.
Yeah.
What am I excited about with the future of Atlassian? They are pushing to become a $10 billion revenue company. They did have the layoffs recently, which was a great shame. That was more about the tech industry, right? And that
Yeah.
what that it had the last year. But they will bounce back from that, and I'm sure at some point they'll start rehiring people. I remember last year talking to someone at Atlassian saying, hey man, you guys are like 7,000 and growing employees strong, and they said, no, we're 10,000 and growing, and probably in X amount of years we'll probably be 30,000 and be, aim to be one of the biggest tech companies in the world. So that's extremely exciting to know that Atlassian has growth potential still. And one thing that's really, really exciting is watching this ecosystem evolve, because right now, and now that I'm saying it publicly, I've been saying it a lot behind the scenes, but now I'm going to say it publicly. I've got a perfect GIF for it. Atlassian ecosystem is hungry hippos. It's like who's being bought out. Atlassian themselves will still buy out a very, very good app and integrate it into their systems. The marketplace partners, right? Old Street just bought out by Tempo. Really wise, very awesome strategic move for Tempo to build out reporting within their portfolio. Services partners are getting gobbled up like crazy.
Yeah. Appfire got Jexo.
Yep, exactly. Appfire, Jexo. I think it was in the last year, Precipio, Six Kites, Coyote Creek, Valiantis bought out Kreuzverker. So I think it's good for the ecosystem. They do have to be careful, not monopolize it too much and make it too much of a game. But it's definitely
Yeah, then you're gonna just have 10 booths at the Team 25.
yeah. I mean, why don't we just I personally, I have a running bet with Jacek. It's really fun. It's not really a bet because we're not betting against each other, but we're kind of just excited to see. If you remember, Cprime had this giant investment from Goldman Sachs. I don't know if you saw that.
I
So
didn't.
Jacek and I are convinced that someone like Goldman Sachs is just going to buy the whole freaking ecosystem, and it's just going to be one booth with all these different with all these different sets of marketplace vendors and Atlassian Jira and JSM and stuff. So we reckon at one point, when the ecosystem just turns into Atlassian plus top 4 partners only, and like it's just very set, we all work for the same company, that's when someone like Goldman Sachs moves in and is just like, we want the whole thing. Here's $100 billion. We take that entire thing and we make it ours. So
Yeah.
that's the running joke, the running bet I have with Jacek.
Cool. Well, we'll see. We'll have to do these annually to see if we get any closer. So, in true Hot Ones fashion, because I do love watching Hot Ones. I don't have a lot of cameras, but this camera, that camera, how he does it. Where can people find you?
Oh, people can find me at community events, right? So check out ace.atlassian.com. We're busy with Tempo acquisition transition right now, so the coming months is less travel for me, but I will be getting back up into it. If people see this before the date, I'll be doing the high velocity stuff this summer actually, so they'll definitely see me June 16th in Amsterdam, which is in 2-3 weeks time.
Yeah, it's
and then,
going before June 16th.
Yeah,
you're going up like the June-ish, the first week of June.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I'll see people at high velocity events this summer. LinkedIn is just Funman Andy. Twitter is at the Funman Andy. I do have an Instagram account as well, Funman Andy. I mean, just type Funman Andy. You'll find me. You'll find my online community blogs and everything. So it's easy to find me. It's a pretty
legend.
I don't pay for Google AdWords, but it's definitely yeah.
Well, thank you very much again, Andy. It was a pleasure. I've gotten to know Chris a little bit more, but it was great to get to know you. You already know the tremendous impact you had on me just in the last 30 days. So
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
there's more to come. I can't wait. Team
Yeah,
Team 24 Ape Tech booth.
yeah. So spoiler for everybody, right? So this is still unofficial here, but the Jura guy and I, we are definitely partnering up,
Nice.
and we're gonna do a new channel, new podcast. Working on the name right now, but we're definitely gonna do something together, and so lots more content even coming your way. So yeah, excited for that.
Love it. That sounds awesome. I can't wait to sign up.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much. You go and have a
you,
great day. I'm gonna go to sleep because I am running on 18 hours here, so I am done.
I love talking to West Coast. It's like, hey, what time is it? It's like 5:30 a.m. and you're like, it's 10 p.m. We're both just tired, out of fumes.
Yeah, no, I told my wife, I'm like, she's like, you're gonna have, because I took a nap on the couch like an hour ago because I'm like, I'm not gonna make it, because you know me, right? Like I'm weak sauce when it comes to nighttime activity. So
I've done like 12, 14-hour shift this week, the whole week. I had 3 alarms this morning to make sure I was here on time.
yeah. Well, again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll have to do this again soon,
Yeah.
but thank you very much, and we'll see you in the near future. Hopefully, let me know when you're in the States again.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. We'll let you know. Cheers, Alex.
See ya.
Bye.
And I hope you enjoyed that interview with Funman Andy. As a reminder, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. This is part of the Summer of Atlassian 2.0, so we're trying to hit to 10,000 subscribers. So make sure you do your part, smash that subscribe button, help us get there. And if you really did enjoy the video, make sure you watch it over and over and over, share it with everybody you know, and help us double these views. Finally, just as a reminder, this video was sponsored and brought to you by Old Street Solutions. Make sure you check out Custom Charts for Jira, the #1, the best reporting tool in the Atlassian marketplace. Go show them some love, go try it out, and go, most importantly, go and escalate the quality of your reports inside of Jira. As you may know, reporting in Jira, a little lackluster, but when you go and install Custom Charts for Jira, you will drastically improve and fall in love with metrics and reporting in Jira. That's it for this video. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want, and I always give it 100. Don't need